That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. Hope all is well, hope everything's going good for people today. Got a quick announcement thing. The holiday is coming up, the one and only Giving of Thanks, or as I like to call it, Kill the Red Man Day. So, because of holiday family plans and stuff like that, I had to rearrange Comic Book Club. It was initially scheduled for the 24th at 2 p.m., but I just can't make that happen. Something came up, so we're just moving it one day further, 25th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry if that inconveniences anyone. Family plans kind of got changed a bit around on me. Nothing I can do about it. But we are going to be discussing Batman Earth 1 Volume 1 on this installment of the Comic Book Club. So if you've got controversial opinions about this classic of the DC Universe, please bring them. I'm excited to talk about this one because Comic Book Club, we've mostly talked about things that are like universally praised as good, with the exception of like Wonder Woman Earth 1. This one is probably the most divisive of the books we've talked about so far. So, yep, Batman Earth 1 Volume 1, Sunday, November 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see plenty of you there. Alrighty. Got a decent number of books to get through tonight, so we're going to just go ahead and get into it. We'll be starting tonight by talking about Ghost Panther from the Infinity Warps series, Justice League Dark, number 5, Black Hammer, Age of Doom, number 7, Batman, number 59, and Doctor Strange, number 8. And then for Trade Talk tonight, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Volume 1. So yeah, plenty of stuff to get into tonight. Should be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to talk comics. Anyway, let's go ahead and start off. So, Infinity Warp series, Ghost Panther, number 1. Alright, so, what the fuck is this? Alright. Let me read the catch-up page. Gamora has collected the Infinity Stones, granting her power beyond belief. Determined to keep the stones and prevent anyone from standing in her way, Gamora had made one simple move that would change everything. She folded the universe in half. In this universe, Gamora's creation, incredible new heroes and villains exist unaware of their warped origins. So she folded the universe in half. So like the universe was a pizza, she made it a calzone. And yeah, this is dumb. This is really dumb, typical comic book shit. And I love it. I absolutely adore this screwy comic book bullshit so much. Words do not have meaning. The only thing that this even compares to is the DC Marvel Amalgam universe with the Speed Demon when Ghost Rider and the Flash got merged together. Yeah, this is pretty much like that. So Marvel's just kind of doing that in-house. So we've got Black Panther with the Ghost Rider powers. That's the premise here. Okay, so like there's actually some really good detail in here I quite like. Because what initially caught my eye is, of course, the Flaming Panther. But like, you look at Ghost Rider's skull here, and it's actually got like panther teeth and a bit of the ear like pointing up. So that's really fun. Okay, I will say I do actually quite respect how efficient the beginning of this comic is. I think it drags in the middle a little too much, and we could just be having more fun. but it ultimately works on just a story level, and it does have a second issue to have a little more fun with. So hopefully it continues there. But seriously, we get 6 panels, and we've got the basics of T'Challa's background in this universe. And then we got another 5, and we've got the premise. And that's really good. That's very efficient work. So it's like, all right, there's a place called Wakanda, which has always been free, a place where an arrogant young prince argued with his father, the king, and was exiled for his insolence. There he found new justice, a new father, a new home, a new name, a new life. And yeah, it's just him meeting this guy who's like a, traveling showman kind of thing. And he's like, "That's your name, T'Challa, son of T'Chaka, Prince of Wakanda?" "It is." "You trying to terrify Middle America? You need a stage name, something more redneck friendly." "Ladies and gentlemen, for 5 years you've thrilled to his suicidal exploits. Now on the eve of his greatest death-defying stunt yet, please put your hands together for Johnny Blaze!" Oh, that's really good. That's fun. So yeah, he goes, does the jump, almost dies, meets the evil counter to Bass, the Panther god. Her name is Zarathos, the Panther goddess. So we're folding more characters here, or this is just a new version of Zarathos. Anyway, no, Zarathos is the. I'm trying to remember my Ghost Rider continuity. I only really remember stuff from videos that Steve did on his channel forever ago. But I'm pretty sure Zarathos is the name of the Ghost Rider spirit, and that it was granted by Mephisto? Kind of like everyone knows like Etrigan, right? You got Jason Blood bonded to the demon Etrigan. It's not like Jason Blood is Etrigan. So I think that it's a similar thing. Like Zarathos is the demon. The demon, the Ghost Rider proper, but it's bonded to a human. Man, Ghost Rider and Etrigan would be a great crossover that's never going to happen. Damn. Anyway, I like a lot of the detail we're getting here, though. Like, I like her skull so much. It's like this creepy looking panther skull, and it really starts to look very unsettling. She is obligated to save T'Challa's life, but offers him power if he'll agree to be a hunter. He's like, "At what cost such a unexpected gift, terrible one?" "Souls. Hunt for me, son of T'Chaka. Bring me the souls of the guilty, the wicked. Hunt for me, and I shall make of you such a hunter as never stalked the world before." With the greatest respect, no. I cannot accept the price of such a bargain. Is always too high. So be it. Condolences on your loss, orphan prince. And then he wakes up and finds out his father's dead, and so he has to go to Wakanda and deal with that, and sees his murderers are on the loose. His the heart-shaped herb has been destroyed, and so he's off for vengeance to go fight the killers. But one of them, who's like kind of a cybernetic version of M'Baku, what do they name him? It's got to be a name combined with something. M'Bakshala the White. M'Bakshala. Who's that? Alright, so like big cybernetic arms. Because we got M'Baku, who's the white gorilla, or the man-ape. Shala. What is that? Like, that's got to be another Marvel character that I'm just not thinking of right now. Is there Marvel characters known for cybernetics? Particularly arms? I'm really not drawing anything right here. Is this like super obscure and I'm not thinking of it? That's gonna bug the crap out of me, man. Anyway, so he's fighting this guy, and it does not really go well for him. Fight takes a turn for the worse, and in a moment of desperation, T'Challa agrees to serve Zarathos, and is granted the power of the Ghost Panther. And so I don't know, that's a fucking cool ass image. Ghost Rider is just one of those things. It is insanely cool for absolutely no reason. It's just too stupid. Anyway, so as he's defeating Mumbakshala, he is about to eat his soul, then he realizes, no, I will not, and tries to break the deal with Zarathos, but is immediately almost killed. And then we kind of get the big cliffhanger. Tell them all of Wakanda's coming after you. Tell them Eric Killraven sent you. Yeah. So Eric Killraven, I don't know. That's kind of cool. That's kind of clever. It's kind of fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. Just it's too stupid to not be fun, and I kind of enjoyed the hell out of it. Got some cool art. I was hoping for better looks at the Ghost Panther, but this will do for now. Black Panther and Ghost Rider. That's comic books are amazing. Oh man. I think Ghost Rider is quickly becoming one of those characters who it's cooler to see Ghost Rider-fied versions of other characters than it is to just see Ghost Rider. We do that every so often. Like, Venom has that. Green Lantern definitely has that. It's like, Green Lantern's all cool and fine and whatever, but like the thing everyone gets off on is, oh, what if this character got a ring now? When they opened up the floodgates with all the different colored cores, it's exactly what happened. So yeah, it's just like we're doing that. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. Talk about Justice League Dark, number 5. The Nightmaster returns, and he is not welcome. Alright, so continuity stuff. This is hard. Detective Chimp was gifted the Oblivion Bar by the Nightmaster, who was a magical character in the DC Universe who had a sword that led to a secret dimension, and he owned a bar outside of time and space. So Detective Chimp is now in possession of the sword that opens this dimension and the bar outside of time and space, and he's kind of reluctantly so. So that's all goofy, comic booky, weird crap, right? We're all used to that. Nothing's like it's so weird. We haven't made comics any more serious. We've just inserted a lot more sadness into them to make them more dramatic and more heartfelt. So like there's all that comic book weirdness. But the beginning of this issue, the prologue, is just Detective Chimp going to his funeral at the Oblivion Bar and not talking with anyone, not even sitting through the service, but just sitting at the bar and drinking. And like the Tinian keeps drawing attention to, he's like, and then he drinks. And then the chimpanzee drinks. And then he drinks. It's like, geez, that's so harsh. It just hurts. Anyway. And now, in order to fix all the magic stuff that's going wrong with the universe, Zatanna, Langstrom, and Wonder Woman think that they can solve it by going to this extra dimensional plane that the Nightmaster now being Detective Chimp, has access to through the sword. They go and shit's not going well. Meanwhile, Constantine and Swamp Thing decide, hey, Dr. Fate's fucking with magic. Let's fight him. And it doesn't work. Meanwhile, the plane that they're trying to go to is also really fucked because of something Detective Chimp did that he's not even, that like we aren't really sure of. Cool comic book action, which is fun. Phantom Stranger shows up to try to reason with Nabu, Dr. Fate. Wonder Woman's fighting a dragon. It looks amazing. This book is really fun. I don't know. This is getting kind of interesting. It ends with the Blue Devil showing up, telling Detective Chimp that he should never have come back here. So who knows what's developing on that front. Again, Tinian's doing a really good job of scale, and this prologue with and then the chimpanzee drank. It's given a lot of heart. I don't know. It's really working for me. It's good stuff. It's good. The stuff is good. All right. Let's go ahead and move along. Talk about Black Hammer, Age of Doom, number 7. This is starting to get, like, really weird. So, like, for those that don't follow the news much, Black Hammer got announced to be in development for a television series, which is strange to me. I want to premise, I'm not against it on principle, but I do not comprehend how it will transition to television. So Black Hammer's got like 4 or 5 series in this world right now. You've got the main line, which is this is volume 2 of the main story of Black Hammer. You have Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil, something like that, which was a 6-issue series. And there's like Starheart, something like that, is another one. And then there's, I just saw it at the store today, there was another spin-off series. So there's like a lot of books coming out of the Black Hammer universe. I've read the first spin-off that's related to how Black Hammer's daughter got to the universe, got to the story of Black Hammer. But, like, so there's a lot of these spin-off things, but this series is so meta, and in particular, it's so meta within the context of comic books, storytelling, and tropes, that I don't understand how it's going to function on TV. I don't get it. But we'll see. I don't know. Like, there seems to be, like, a lot of projects that get announced to be, turning into a TV series. And then, like, you never hear anything about them again. So we'll see if this turns into that. Not that I'm hoping for that or anything. I'm just like, I don't know what it's going to be. The commentary here is so focused on the comic book industry and the effect things like Watchmen had on the industry. And this issue takes meta to a whole nother level. This issue, if it weren't written by Jeff Lemire, I'd tell you, yeah, it's Grant Morrison. It's that level of meta at a certain point. My Tale would have had humble origins. I was to be a regular middle-aged squire named Bert Lancelot, who would have stumbled upon the legendary sword Excalibur one night in the Spiral City swamp. There, in a rush of glory, I would have succeeded in pulling the sword from the stone and being imbued with the magical power of King Arthur's court. Soon after, I would have discovered a gateway to New Camelot and become a great protector of Spiral City. Yeah, well, big deal. You were barely a formed inkling of an idea, Bert. I, on the other hand, was almost a real story. We've all heard your sob almost stories, boys, but mine would really have been something. I was going to be Dr. Nancy Ness, Spiral City's leading expert on the study of light refraction. Then a beam of stray radioactive moonlight would have struck my super prism, and it would have transformed me into Miss Moonbeam. I would have been Golden Gale's arch nemesis. I would have been one of the greatest villains in Spiral City's history. I was almost Mr. Grizzly, a mad science experiment gone wrong, part man, part grizzly bear, the most feral anti-hero Spiral had ever saw. I would have been a real popular in the 90s. So we have all these characters that Colonel Weird has just met. Oh, wait, hold on. Quack, 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 quack. Golden Goose said he was going to be part of a group of animal sidekicks that would have appeared in some special or annual or something, but it never happened. They would have been Golden Goose, Barbelly Bunny, and Ham Sandwich. So Colonel Weird has discovered a group of misfit toys stranded somewhere having to deal with the evil, all-consuming anti-god. And these characters were stories that almost existed in comic book form. They're stories that almost happened. They're also ran. They're thought of unfinished projects. That's pretty fucking weird. They band together to decide to go and try to rush Anti-God, get past him, and escape this land in which they've been stuck. And they do. That's a giant ear. Just the scale of that shit. Literally, characters that should not exist, that never existed in stories, only existed in the back of some crazy comic book writer's mind, have literally escaped into reality in order to see, or some kind of subset of reality, in order to see the other people that make comic books happen. This place may be where stories come from, but this guy isn't the only creator. This is the source of all stories. Ours is only a tiny part of that. I like McPick's comment here. There's breaking the fourth wall, and then there's destroying the fourth wall. Yeah, this takes meta to a completely different level. Yeah, and so Colonel Weird goes off to try to find his friends, and anyway, sorry about that connection, folks. Anyway, so yeah, just the craziness. Colonel Weird goes off to try to discover or discover his friends who are headed back to Spiral City without him, and I don't know, it's it's so meta that I don't even comprehend the commentary at this point. Like, a lot of it seemed like it was a take on Watchmen, to a degree, not directly, but it was a take on Watchmen and Watchmen's effect on the industry, the changes that Watchmen made. And then also part of it was like the deepness of character-focused fiction and not being tied to the big two companies. There's just like a whole mess of things. This is kind of an ever-evolving commentary on comic books. And I find it really, really interesting in that regard. And I have no idea how that's going to work in a television series, because the audience is not sophisticated enough for that. Not that, like, comic book audiences are smarter than television audiences. I mean, God, have you seen the Comicsgate community? But, like, the comics community has at least some level of comprehension of the effects of the big two publishing dynamic and the effects of books like Watchmen have had on the types of books that are published. Like, people may not know they have comprehension of these things, but they're part of the zeitgeist that have been affected by this, so they are more likely to get it, even if they don't know that they get it. So yeah, this whole thing. I mean, like, you look at a cover like this, and that is Darkseid's face in Galactus's hat, right? There's no denying that. And it's not even trying to. I don't want to like front with it and say that it's like clearly trying to rip this stuff off and just get away with it. It's very intentional in what it's doing. I'm just not entirely sure a television audience is going to comprehend that. They're going to see it and they're not going to instantly recognize the forks on the head as, oh, Galactus. They're not going to recognize the rock face as, oh, Darkseid. I don't know. It's just weird on that level. But we'll see. If Jeff Lemire's down for it, how bad could it be? I like this art on the back. That's kind of cool. I'm getting a lot of neat covers that are front and back image. Why isn't this book being talked about more within the comics industry? I've heard a lot of people talk about Black Hammer. I mean, to be fair, you got to think about it. This is an entire comic book universe that's being imprinted at Dark Horse. That's pretty impressive. Like, it's not based on a pre-existing property. It's got successful spin-off titles, and it's successfully into a second volume doing what it wants to. Keep in mind, the first volume was 12 issues. It's been a very successful series. Like, by all accounts, critically, financially, certainly. I don't know, it's really interesting. And Philip Kelton says they may adapt the story and change stuff so people can get it. I don't think it's just a level of to make people get it. I don't think its commentary necessarily works outside of a comic book. It's weird. It's like Alan Moore, as his whole thing is like, oh, I'm Alan fucking Moore. All my stuff's only meant to be comics. It's not meant to be film. So I don't fucking want your millions of dollars for my films. So it's a comic first. But really, there's nothing about Watchmen that doesn't work on film, or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that doesn't work on film. That's just, it's just silly crossover stuff. And yeah, there's commentary within the industry there, but not to the level that something like Animal Man or this is. This is commentary not only on the characters within comics, not only on the tropes within comics, but on the publishing of comics. So I don't get it. And Philip Kelton's very, very pleased with my Alan Moore impersonation. I need to keep the copy of Lucifer #1 that's got the picture of Alan Moore on the cover and just hold it up and do my Alan Moore impression. I'm fucking Alan Moore. You wanna see my serpent god? Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move along. I'm talking about Batman #59, Dark Knight. Criminal. See, I did the sound because it's got like a stamp. Alright, so at the end of the last issue, Batman confronted the Penguin, who it seems was working for Bane, but has betrayed him and sold him out to Batman. And that's where this issue takes us. Wherein Batman breaks into Arkham Asylum. And like this cut between two scenes where we got the present Batman breaking into Arkham and the past Batman having a conversation with the Penguin. That directly follows up the cliffhanger from the last issue. And just fucking Mikhail Yanin on art. God, that is everything about Batman and Penguin's relationship. Oh, that is so gorgeous. Yeah, so we're cutting between these two scenes. And Batman finds Bane in his cell in Arkham and starts kicking the shit out of him. Because Bane seems to be in a nearly catatonic state, unable to even really communicate without stuttering. And Batman just, starts beating the tar out of him because he's discovered Bane's plan and yada yada yada, because the Penguins spilled the beans and all this stuff. So now Batman's attacking him and trying to get to the root of everything. Get up or I will hit you. Get up. Yes, Batman. I'm getting up. Just don't. That's a really good one. And, like, you kind of get where Batman's coming from on just this fucking rampage. I really like it. It's like, you framed Freeze, you killed those women, tried to kill Alfred, and from that, it's not hard to see that you worked with the Beast. You shot my boy. Just kicking the shit out of him. Mick Bick says, Bane is breaking the Bat mentally. Yeah, you kind of get that impression. He is really pushing Batman to the edge on a psychological level in a way that he hadn't before. Like, he's kind of destroying the thing that Batman always takes for granted. Which, like, alright, so Batman's a character who's always portrayed as, like, a loner and not having really anyone. He's, like, off on his own and misunderstood and all that stuff. But, like, he's got so many people. There's an entire Bat family. Like, there's so much to Batman's social dynamics that really to break him would be to make him into that loner. So Bane has so far taken Selina Kyle away. He's hurt Dick Grayson, tried to kill Alfred. He's hurt so many people in Batman's life and is pushing him to the brink of a mental breakdown. And Batman wants to make it something so simple now. He wants to turn it into another fist fight. And it's just not happening for him. I really like how this panel mirrors the panel from the I Am Bane arc. It's just not working out for him. He keeps getting pushed to the edge here, and he's not getting through anything. kicks the crap out of Bane until Gordon shows up, tells him, no, I've been observing him the whole time. He's damn near catatonic. Batman doesn't believe him. To the point where, yeah, look, this is what Bane is driving Batman to do. And we, the audience, clearly know that Penguin's right, that Batman is duped, that he's fallen for Bane's trap, and he's mentally breaking down here. But in context, of course, Batman doesn't know all that. Batman just thinks he's being attacked. He doesn't realize how manipulated he's been. Like, he might comprehend that Bane is responsible for the murders in Frank Freeze. He might comprehend that Bane hired KG Beast to kill Dick Grayson. But he doesn't seem to comprehend, or does he have the knowledge to comprehend that Bane manipulated the situation to get Catwoman to leave him at the altar? Like, does he understand that side of things? Philip Cullen says, I don't think it's the fact that he is a loner, is that he is no longer a loner. Now you have a way to get to him. The same people that keep him from becoming a monster have now become his kryptonite. Yes, that's exactly my point. Is like, there's this perception of Batman as a loner, but that's just not the case. He has all these very deep personal connections that make him who he is, that keep him grounded. And so if you were to actually want to hurt Batman, the way to do it is to make him into that loner through actions like this. So, yeah, you get that, which explains this. Dark Knight criminal. Yeah. In any case, Batman goes home and is talking to Alfred on the way, and says, Bird remains in his cage, Master Bruce. Bane, he denied it. I see. And sir, do you believe him? I don't know. You just get this image of Bane smiling. Man. Tom King. Twisting that knife, man. You just wait. It's gonna get you. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on. Talk about the last single issue this week, which is Doctor Strange, number 8. Yeah, the second arc just is not doing it for me. Doctor Strange fights his evil wizard counterpart while trying to survive against his former apprentice, who's just kind of invincible. And yeah, blah blah blah. Kana shows up and gets her memories from the Time Stone back, and I don't know, this just feels all very typical Doctor Strange, which just, there's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't interest me in really any way. Doctor Strange's clever solution is to take a piece of his soul, the dog's soul, and Kana's soul, and perform a transplant on her. I kind of like that. I like the idea of framing it as like magic, but in medical terminology. That's kind of cool, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel that special, you know? Anyway, it works, and she warns him that someone has sent her in motion, but she can't say the name. Just promise to stay vigilant. And now that Kana knows that Doctor Strange wiped her memories, she leaves him alone in his house. The line being, That's what I thought. You know what else it makes you? Alone. Kana, wait. Didn't you ever wonder why every one of your friends and lovers eventually walk out on you? Every one of them? Because you make them feel stupid. Goodbye, Stephen Strange. And she's off in a huff. I don't know. I like the first arc a lot. I can't really recommend the second. It just feels so typical. Let's see. Mick Pick says Mordo is being more like his MCU counterparts. Like Mordo was never for magic have a price before the movie. Oh, is that? Huh. Okay, whatever. I don't know. It's kind of boring. Honestly, I don't find Doctor Strange isn't my character. I came on for Mark Waid because I quite like Mark Waid, and because I was told, hey, it's gonna be Doctor Strange in space with alien wizards. I'm like, oh, I'm so there for that. And I love that shit. That was great. I was hoping that'd last a lot longer, and I don't know. We're at Legacy number 398, which means we'll be renumbering to 400 for at least an issue. In a couple months here. So maybe after 400 it'll go back to space stuff. Kind of doubt it. What can you do? Is there anything really to say on the art here? I mean, it's good. I feel bad when I say stuff like this because I don't mean it to be insulting or anything. This is just the level of quality I kind of expect anymore in modern day comics. There's nothing really that makes this stand out. This just kind of looks like just a lot of comics now. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't have anything to complain about. I like the expressions. Lots of facial expressions. That's cool. A lot of, but, it's fine. Not much to say about this. Kind of boring issue. You can just read the first arc of Waid's run so far. The second's pretty skippable. Alrighty. That will do it for the single issues. I'm going to go ahead and move on and do trade talk now. Hey, Philip Kelton, should I do all of my review of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in more voice? Oh, Philip Kelton says, look for Batman the Max, Ian, if you want awesome art. I love Sam Keith's art. I hate Sam Keith's writing. Sam Keith, one of the worst writers I've ever read. It should always be so good, and it's always such a disappointment with Sam Keith writing. And Philip Kelton really wants me to do my entire League of Extraordinary Gentlemen review in my Alan Moore voice, and it's just not gonna happen. Alrighty, let's go ahead and trade talk. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Trade Talk with Glare on the cover. Yes, today we're discussing The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Volume 1. Alright, so I think I've between comic reviews and Geeky Gentlemen and Trade Talk, I think I'm pretty firmly established I'm no fan of Alan Moore. I think Alan Moore is a bit of a prick. I think he's a bit of a whiny prick, and I just don't like him. Anytime I hear him talk, I just roll my eyes. I don't like Alan Moore as a person. That being said, he is a fantastic writer. Alan Moore really is a talent. I heard a great quote in regards to Alan Moore, and it has always stuck with me. And that's that Alan Moore is a genius. And anything he chose to go into, he was going to have a profound impact on. He just happened to choose comics. And that has stuck with me for so long. I cannot remember who said it, but 100% agree. The fact that I don't like Alan Moore and that I'm always so like snide and kind of shitty about Alan Moore is a reflection on his impact that he's left in the comics industry, that he even that sometimes seems ashamed of and seems to criticize. And I don't know, maybe he got older and like kind of looked back on some of the stuff he did when he was really getting big in the industry and just like as a distaste for it, and maybe he became more self-critical. I don't know. The way I typically see it framed, or the way I see him frame it, is he'll say some shit, but then you can go like look at his books and what he's famous for, what's given him the authority that makes people ask him questions about the comic industry, is that he wrote the things that he's criticizing. Like, it always gets me, like, Alan Moore will say stuff like, here you go, Philip Cullen. Oh, comics industry, just thriving constantly off of never creating anything new. Yeah, sure, that is legitimately a problem in the comics industry. Alan Moore, would you like to talk to me about the fact that almost everything you're famous for writing is based on pre-existing characters? Like, literally, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. All of these are pre-existing characters. The thing he's most famous for, Watchmen, they were initially just going to use pre-existing characters, but then almost at the last minute just decided to use like thinly veiled recreations of those characters. The most famous being that Rorschach was initially going to be the Question, and Captain or Dr. Manhattan was Captain Atom, and Night Owl was Blue Beetle, and yada 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 yada. So like it's always with that shit that Alan Moore just makes me go like, dude, just shut the fuck up. I would have so much more respect for Alan Moore if he just took a vow of silence. Anyway. So yeah. We got League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. For those that don't know the premise, it's Avengers but old-timey. It's old-timey Avengers. What if all the famous characters from the classic stories set in this era got together as a superhero team? So we've got Captain Nemo and oh shit, what's his name? Alan Quatermain, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and the Invisible Man, and Mina Harker. If you don't know Mina Harker, you know Jonathan Harker, I'm assuming. Jonathan? It's Jonathan, right? You know, the guy the Dracula. The guy that got hit by a Dracula. Anyway. So yeah. That's kind of the premise, is like, what if we made an Avengers team out of those guys? And this story is, I mean, it's not clever. It's just that. It's seriously, it's pretty hokey, silly comic book stuff, which is really refreshing from Alan Moore, to be honest with you. I was expecting something much more pretentious. That it kind of works. But then, like, even with that, I'm kind of left at a place where I'm just like, the stuff I've heard you complain about is stuff you're doing in your series. Like, I know I've heard Alan Moore complain about the sexualization, the violence depicted against women in comics. You know, like, I don't know. I'd go to like Spider-Man. I'm gonna just pick a movie because it's fresh in my mind right now. But like, think about the first Spider-Man movie, and like Mary Jane's about to be attacked in an alley, and the subtext is pretty evident that she's going to be sexually assaulted there too. But Spider-Man comes in, kicks ass, and saves the day, and so we're framing Spider-Man as a hero for protecting her virginity or her womanliness or whatever, her innocence. But I mean, it's a cheap trick. It's pretty inherently sexist because the implication being that she's less pure if she got attacked in that way. It's a whole fucking can of worms. Anyway, but like, I know I've heard Alan Moore say stuff like how that's wrong, how the industry has enabled it. And like, seriously, this scene is like 4 pages in. I don't know how to react to that. I'm just like, if you believe that, then why isn't it reflected in your own work? And to be fair, I haven't read much of Alan Moore's new stuff. I do have just generally a really bad taste in my mouth with Alan Moore, so I try not to read much of his stuff. But I got a deal on this, so I was like, fuck it, whatever. And I'd always been curious about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Spoilers, I didn't like it. I love saying things like Scott Snyder once told me, hey, you know, comics writers and artists, we appreciate criticism, but we like it. It should be constructive, and we don't want you just saying stuff to try to hurt people. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't do that. But my exception is Alan Moore. I like to say things just in the slight hope that Alan Moore will see it and will be kind of mad. So here we go. Feel free to cut this out and post it all over the internet. The movie's better. I don't know why, but like, Alan Moore keeps the weirdest things. So it's like, it's really hard to go back and read stuff from the 18th century. Let me see if I can pull something up, because this could be a fun little experiment. Oh, not ACIST. Oh man, I don't want your think pieces. Tarzan online. I just want to. No, not the fucking movie. God damn it. Tarzan of the Apes, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Read it now for free. Okay. I don't know, I should pick a later chapter. Alright, The Village of Torture. There we go. Okay. Let's get some screen sharing going here. Whabam. Whabam. Alright, you can still hear me, right? Yeah, we're looking good. Okay. So let's go over here and start reading some excerpts from Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs, which came out, early 1900s? Durante gave a warning shout to his column as the blacks closed on him, but before he could draw his revolver, he had been pinioned and dragged into the jungle. His cry had alarmed the sailors, and a dozen of them sprang forward past Professor Porter, running up the trail to their officer's aid. They did not know the cause of his outcry, only that it was a warning of danger ahead. They had rushed past the spot where Dianthor had been seized, when a spear hurled from the jungle transfixed one of the men, and then a volley of arrows fell among them. Are you getting that this is racist yet? I gotta find... Like, to add to the fiendishness of their cruel savagery was the poignant memory of a still crueler barbarities practiced upon them and theirs by the white officers, that arch-hypocrite Leopold II of Belgium, because of whose atrocities they had fled the Congo Free State, a pitiful remnant of what once had been a mighty tribe. That is surprisingly woke for Tarzan. I will give it some credit there. Anyway, I gotta find the line. Number of women scattered to their several huts to fetch pots and water, while others built a row of fires on which portions of the feast were to be boiled, while the balance would be slowly dried to its strips for future use, as they expected the other warriors to return with many prisoners. The festivities were delayed, awaiting the return of the warriors who had been remained to engage the skirmish with the white men, so that it was quite late when all were in the village, and the dance of death commenced to circle around the doomed officer. The blacks are going to eat him. Half fainting from pain and exhaustion, Dianthor watched from beneath half-closed lids what seemed but the vagary of delirium, or some horrid nightmare from which he must soon awake. The bestial faces dabbed with color, the huge mouths with flaggy, hanging lips. Oh, God. The yellow teeth, sharp files. Fucking Christ. The rolling demon eyes, the shining naked bodies, the cruel spears. Surely no such creatures really existed upon the earth. He must indeed be dreaming. The savage, whirling bodies circled him. Now a spear sprang forth and touched his arm. The sharp pain and the feel of hot, trickling blood assured him of the awful reality of his hopeless position. Another spear then fell. Another touched him. He closed his eyes and held his teeth firm. Set, he would not cry out. He was a soldier of France, and he would teach these beasts how an officer and a gentleman died. Okay, I think I've made my point. So what you've got when you read old shit like the characters in this is really racist stuff, because it was written by racist white guys who truly did believe in stuff like the white man's burden. Okay, so I was just reading Tarzan. Tarzan was written by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote White Man's Burden. Is it Edgar Rice Burroughs? White Man's Burden, Rudyard Kipling. Kipling wrote Jungle Book. That's it. That's Tarzan Jungle Book. Anyway, so you've got these old stuffy white English guys who write these big grandiose tales of exploit and adventure, and that's how we remember them. But we rarely go read them and realize just how ingrained a lot of the racial superiority, the racial bigotry is in the texts. So, you try to read Tarzan, and there's just shit like, oh, the flabby lips of the blacks. It's just cringe-inducing. And so the idea of, okay, let's do an Avengers with characters based on popular literature from that time period is a cool idea, but then you have to deal with the racism. And Alan Moore took a surprising approach, I suppose, which is to just keep it. I've read some some racist comic books that didn't know they were being racist, but like, man, where's it at? I gotta find it. Ah, here's a good line from Hyde. What a hole! It stinks of Chinamen in the river. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like, I'll give more credit. He doesn't have his characters straight spout racial slurs left and right. They sneak a few in there, though. He just keeps it. He just keeps the racial, like, bigotry of these characters. I don't know why. Like, I guess it's more true to the characters as they existed. It's more accurate to the time that it's taking place in. And perhaps these are not characters we should idolize and view as heroes, even if they do heroic deeds. But, like, really? Why bother? This seems like it could be so much fun and could detach these characters from their racist histories and possibly make them, you know, like, to remove the racism from some of these characters is certainly an ethically complex question, but I'll just take the short road for it and say, yeah, fuck it, do it, whatever. There's no reason that if people like these characters, we can't snip the racist buds off of them. And I mean, it's not like Moore didn't know what he was doing. I think he made some choices in this that were clearly intended to give some dignity to people of color in a time when they were not allowed it in literature. So, like, you got Captain Nemo, who's Indian, and, like, he at one point has to pretend to be a servant because they go undercover, and he complains about it the whole time. And then when they need to go undercover again, he's like, I'm not fucking doing it again. He's got you know, a lot of righteous indignation and pride, and so it's not that Moore is like just continuing the stigmatization. He's more just showing it, which I just think is a weird choice. I just think, you know, just you're not erasing that stuff. You just say fuck it. We don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to embellish that kind of thing. But yeah, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen save London from being bombed by a fantastic flying machine that uses a element, and there's, I don't know, it's a lot of sneaking around mostly. You get some cool moments. The first couple chapters are about putting the team together. I like a lot of the art. I think the art's pretty fucking kick-ass. The Nautilus, I believe, is the name of Captain Nemo's ship, and it gets some fantastic visualization that's really cool. Nemo gets some great art. Again, as far as the representation of people of color, Nemo's kind of the token guy here, and he gets a lot to do that's actually really cool looking. Like, he definitely has a lot of dignity. He gets to be cool on the page, so that does count for a lot. Meanwhile, you got like Alan Quartermain, who's a fucking opium addict. So it's not thoughtless. It's just a strange choice. Anyway, I don't know. There's some cool art, but ultimately, I like the movie more. Kind of want to go watch the movie. And again, it's you got Mina Murray, I want to say, is because she goes by her maiden name, but people keep calling her Harker here and again. So, like, on one level, yeah, that's commentary on, like, the sexism of the time and all that stuff. On the other level, here's a rape scene. Here's the Invisible Man raping a woman. Not even a woman, a girl. Hot take alert. I think Alan Moore is probably a bit sexist. Or at least 80s famous Alan Moore is a bit sexist without necessarily realizing it. Like, I think he's like knows how to spout feminist points, knows how to have his characters spout feminist points sexist, but like not aware of how to like actively make or actively portray women in a proactive manner, and not to do cheap shit like that. I don't know. These are thoughts I have. Moriarty's the villain. There's like a whole backup that's like one of those old Alan Quartermain books, and I read about half of it, and then just like this really kept the tone of the of those old books to it. Pretty sure he uses the word negress. And so, I don't know, that shit just turns me right the fuck off, no matter what kind of commentary he's trying to do with it. So I stopped about halfway through that because I didn't have the interest for it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure people enjoy this for one reason or another. I don't like Alan Moore much to begin with, so this kind of stuff I am inherently harsher on. Throw in shit that just disappoints me in the modern day anyway. I lose a lot of interest. I'm gonna go rewatch the movie. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming to this episode of Trade Talk and also comic reviews.